Victoria, I am so excited to talk with you. We had a pre-chat that was just delightful and sparkly, as I knew it would be. It's been really, really on my mind, the things, some of what we talked about. But I just really want people to know more about you. So if you could start out with how you came to start your business, what you do, and
Okay.
how you came to start.
Okay. So for those who don't recognize the accent, I actually grew up in Northern Ireland. I was born in Northern Ireland in the middle of our 30-year war, known as the Troubles. So I moved away when I was in my late teens to Scotland to go to university. Then I went traveling, went all over the world, Australia, Southeast Asia, Canada, and was never intending to go home, but did end up back in Ireland after peace had been declared. And at that time, I was working as a youth worker by day and a yoga teacher by night. And I came up with the fabulously bright idea to combine both of them because I thought I love the yoga. Teaching the yoga is so enjoyable, and doing youth work is so stressful. But wouldn't it be, all I could see was that there were not even the generation of young people that I was working with. So I was working with 18 to 25-year-olds, but it was actually their children that I could see were still bearing the brunt of the Troubles and were still dealing with being in social deprivation. And I just felt like there was something more that I could offer them. So I started my first business, which was Stretch and Play. So Stretch and Play was a kids movement and mindfulness course. It was based on yoga, but again, Northern Ireland I started in 2006, and in Northern Ireland, we weren't allowed to call it children's yoga because people were like, yeah, oh God, no. I mean, yoga for grown-ups, okay, but children, I don't think so. So I called it Stretch and Play, and the name stuck. And I did that for 3 years, and I set it up as a registered charity. The whole aim behind it was to address rising obesity levels and adverse childhood experiences to help children raise their self-esteem. But I think the problem with it was that, again, it was set up in 2006 and it was a bit too far ahead of its time. Now the schools are welcoming it, particularly since the lockdown. Schools are like, yes, let's bring yoga in, let's de-stress the kids. But at the time that I was doing it, I felt more like a children's entertainer than someone who was going to change policy. And that was
like a magic show.
Yeah. And I was like, it is magic, but I actually wanted to be more serious than that. So I ended up, in 2009, I closed it down and focused instead on teaching adults. So the thing about it being a charity was that I was the only one that treated it like such, and I didn't take a wage. So for 3 years, I'd left my full-time work and I was working on the charity during the day, but I needed to bring an income in. So I started to do more adult classes at night. So I was teaching yoga classes and Pilates classes. And then when I decided to shut the charity down, I thought, right, well, I'm just going to go all in with the adults. And so I did. And from that, I started to train people to become teachers. So I had been training facilitators so they could do the Stretch and Play with the kids because I couldn't be everywhere. And I really enjoyed teacher training. And it was like, okay, I'm going to try this. Yeah. And I remember I brought the level 3 Pilates qualification to Northern Ireland. So I was actually the first provider of this level 3 qualification. Wow. And so that was 2011. It had just been launched in 2010. And I brought it over to Ireland the next year. And I remember that first training, standing at the whiteboard and looking at the people and just thinking to myself, oh my God, this is it. This is what I want to do. And what I loved about it compared to like school teaching was that the people had paid to be there and they really wanted to learn. Yeah. You know, you're in school, a lot of it, especially again with the youth work, it's about management of children, not working with adults who actually have paid good money and are really interested in the message.
Sure. Yeah. I bet it's hard to get a child enrolled in their own healthy body and
oh God, yeah.
Right. The transformation available, we know, but it's hard for them to grab onto it, where a teacher is realizing their power, right? They're choosing it because they have a
Yeah.
message to offer.
And in fact, I was talking to the guy that I work with in Northern Ireland. I am now based in Scotland again, so I'm back and forward between the two quite a lot. And I was talking to him today. And so we're coming up for our 12th year of running the course every year. And it's been,
Wow.
yeah, it's a very small, yeah, a small community. And I'm like, they're bound to like be overfilled, and they're not. Pilates especially, there's a lot more yoga that's available. But Pilates, for some reason, Pilates mat work is still really, there's a huge desire for it. So, yeah, so I love the fact that I get to go home every year, like once a month, do this training, and every year just watch these people blossom. So, yeah, so it's sort of developed from that. And now what I do is I run a company called Stretch Body Mind, and we stretch their bodies and we stretch their minds. So we're doing yoga teacher training, Pilates instructor training, and breathwork and meditation teacher training as well, which is my latest baby.
Mm-hmm. So that's where you stretch the mind, especially is the breath work, right? I've tasted just a little bit of breath work, and it really is, the whole idea really is quite new to me, that how we're doing emotionally gets to come through our bodies, both the signals that we need help, and both also the ways that we get to clear it out. I'm needing more of that.
Yeah, I think we all are. I think it's so interesting because we've had, 2+ years of sustained stress. And actually, for a lot of people, it's brought trauma responses. I know for me, it certainly did. I think I told you a story about that. I actually have an experience of that. If you remember in the first lockdown, when the supermarkets, the shelves had nothing on them and there were queues to get in, and it felt very strange. And I remember in a large supermarket, they had arrows along the aisles, so you had to walk in a certain direction. And I remember being on an aisle, and this couple started walking the wrong way. And I took a panic attack in the supermarket, had to leave. Just got in a whole state. My boyfriend paid for the groceries, came out and went, "What was wrong?" And I'm going, "You don't understand. Where I grew up in Ireland, if we walked the wrong way down the street, we could have been killed. It was that serious." Wow. The town that I came from was so segregated, so divided, that for your own safety, you had to walk on the correct side of the road.
Yeah.
So it just brought back. And I thought I dealt with it. I thought that it wasn't anything to worry about, but it really came rushing back. Oh, God,
right? Yeah. And that's what I find with business also. Like, what are the things that say that road is blocked? That is not available to me.
Yeah.
And it's only until you unpack it with someone else or something brings it up, right? Something in our business says, wait, I need to go there, but I can't. That I find that's when you know what you believe, right? What's parked in there. And I realize now it's for our healing, right? That moment in the grocery aisle, very difficult. And yet it was a call to Victoria.
It was a call, but it was a call I think I ignored, as we do. I feel like that I've been, and I always go with that idea that we teach best what we need to learn for ourselves. And I know that I teach yoga and have done since 2001 because I need it in my life. If I didn't have yoga, like the stretching, the breathing, the philosophy behind the whole practice, I don't even think I'd be here. But I do very much also, there's been a lot that my head is running the show and my body has sort of followed suit. And then I feel like I buried a lot of that stuff, as we all do. The trauma things, they go in, but they stay. As you said, they stay in the body. They're there. And it's only when you start to listen to your body, do you start to heal the things that you've been pushing down and ignoring and trying to get away with. And it's been so interesting, just to have this couple of years. And just to have that experience at the very start gave me a real understanding of how some of my students had been going. Like before the lockdown, I was running courses in England, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, and they were all in person, weekend trainings, and I had to suddenly pivot everything to online. Some of the people were okay with it, but some of the people had never experienced online learning, didn't know what a Zoom was, and now of course we're also familiar with it.
Right.
And I felt there was a lot of space holding, not just for my students, but I also had co-teachers that I needed to support and hold and give them space for. So I feel like I went straight from, business into fight mode, right? I'll get this sorted. And then after that, I do think I went into a freeze. Once I dealt with the initial, right, let's get everybody sorted, I do feel like I went into a bit of a freeze. So it's interesting.
You had to love your way out of it somehow.
Yes.
I'm only assuming, because you're not in a freeze now. You're in a really beautiful flowing place, which I just really applaud.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. But I also think it's about momentary awareness, daily awareness of where am I, and is my brain overtaking my body here? Am I listening to my body's wisdom? I've done so much work this last couple of years on somatic experiencing, trauma and trauma release exercises, and more work on the vagus nerve, which is sort of the buzz word of the wellness circles, but for good reason. And it's been really interesting to take what I'm doing in my personal life and applying it to my teacher trainings, because again, I think before there was a lot of intellectual stuff and there wasn't the body awareness, there wasn't the embodiment of the practice, and now I feel like it's much more embodied wisdom, if that makes sense.
Sure. And you say wisdom, and that just reminds me of a piece that I really love and offer to you and me, is what a treat that as we get older, we have wisdom to really incorporate so much of what we know. It gets to go deeper and deeper. I just think of, that was just a recent reflection I had of, there's a privilege to our age, we get to offer so much to people, especially as coaches and trainers. We get to incorporate not just this, because this is of course what we're trained to value,
to do. Yes.
Trade on,
yes.
Right. But it goes deeper and deeper with the decades. And I'm finding my current journey is really, how do I describe not just my knowledge, but my wisdom? Does that make sense? Where I'm really incorporating so much, like, how do I deeply know that's true? Not just like, well, I learned it, I read a book and I can tell you what I read.
And especially, I think because for so many years, women's wisdom was ignored. Crones, well, you're a crone, get out. We're not interested in that. And we are the first generation of women that are bringing this back. And, and dare I say it, midlife women, that we are, we're saying, we're going through the menopause and we're dealing with it, but we're still here and we still have so much wisdom to impart. And then, well,
I think we're just getting going. I think we're just coming into our power, and no one knew all this time.
Yes.
I say that no one knew, but the society, the world says, oh, don't look over there. Look at the youth. Look at the powerful, the strong in body. And here we go. So, yes, welcome, Kiki. Welcome, Success Coach Mo Monet. Welcome. Do put in comments and any questions you have for Victoria, because Victoria is full of magic, as I've got.
And talking of magic, I'll tell the story of Alisdair. So Alisdair, my son, and so I had been, as I said before, Stretch Body Mind is my business. It's also my baby. And it meant I could dedicate all my time to it. I had gotten to the age of 45 and I'd been through a marriage and a marriage breakup, no children, and had sort of contented myself with the fact that there wasn't going to be any children. And then I was doing a program. It was a meditation program called Stretch Your Shakti, all about sacral chakra energy, the divine feminine.
You were taking the class, right?
Yes,
not
yes.
Okay.
I was delivering it. So I was working a lot with my own Shakti, and then imparting that wisdom to the 7 women who were on the course. And it was wonderful. We're halfway through the course, and I'd been talking about menopause, perimenopause, those things. And I was certain that I was perimenopausal because my period was late. And then I started to sort of go, okay, that's not just, my boobs were hurting. And I was like, I just wonder. And so I did a pregnancy test, and sure enough, there it was, a plus sign. And I was pregnant I just turned 46. So I had a baby naturally, without any scientific help, and sort of completely unexpectedly.
Wait, unless you count Shakti as scientific.
Yes. Well, yes.
Let's bring those words together, right?
Yes, yeah. Exactly. So yeah, and then as I said at the very start of the conversation, Alisdair will be 1 year old tomorrow. So I've had again so many changes in the past year, and again embodying it and feeling my body's wisdom and listening to my body for the first time, because my body can do, can create miracles.
Can make a human.
Yeah.
So
as
powerful.
Can, like so many women. And you don't have to create a human in order to have a miraculous body. That's the, that's the other thing. And so it was, again, I think it's taken a year for this to really impact me. This time last year, I was in a complete state of disbelief. I still, while I was pregnant, still did not believe that he would make his way earthside. And now he's here kicking, screaming, and yeah.
I hope you just take time this 1 year birthday to just mark not only the celebration of this human who's doing great, but what a journey you had to, it sounds like it has brought you to both depths and greater faith in yourself and what's possible. And you get to bring that power everywhere you go. I told you in our warm-up call, our pre-call, I said, I heard of Victoria Cunningham as the woman who manifested a baby, a whole human. And I was just
a whole human.
Yes. I love it. Johnston 1010, welcome. We're talking about the miracle of our bodies and how amazing the power that is in it, and the power to heal, I think, and the power to know beyond what our brains know.
And just getting out of your own way and letting the body's wisdom, come and,
you're reminding me that my one pregnancy, I have one daughter, that was a time where, probably the time that I most connected with, I have a body and it knows exactly what to do without me telling it, without me striving, without me doing it correctly, right, with like everything is a tightrope is so often what I live like. If I don't do this right, everything's gonna fall down. My body was like, mate, I got this. And how amazing. I felt very lucky, and I know that isn't everybody's experience. And I also felt like, wow, I can't even believe this is possible. So it helps me even consider that there's an inner knowing in anyone.
Yes. Yeah. And I felt, obviously I've been working with my body all my life. As I said, I've been teaching yoga since 2001. So like over 20 years of teaching. I've actually been practicing yoga since I was 13 years old. I find it, which was again, a very unusual thing for someone who grew up in the Northern Ireland Troubles to suddenly be interested in sort of Indian philosophy and Hinduism and, all of the sort of theories behind yoga. For me, it was not just the asana. I actually was really interested in everything about it. I remember I became vegetarian. I gave up my faith, which my mother was not particularly happy with, but I made a big stand. I'm not going to church anymore. I don't know if I believe in that. So I was very firmly agnostic, not atheist, but I was just like, to me, there seemed to be something so much bigger than just the Northern Ireland Protestant Catholic divide. I just, I just
so
rejected that.
So true. Much bigger.
Yeah. And so it's something I always took my body for granted. And then last year, with the miracle of making a human, also I think that thing where, you get the relaxin comes in and it's softening everything up. I actually ended up with a lot of physical pain during the pregnancy, but I think it's because the body, again, had been ignored for so long. That all of a sudden it was really shouting to me, you need to pay us attention. It's not just me anymore. There's a baby in here and we need to. By the time I got to third trimester, I basically was just sitting. And in our apartment, we don't have a bath. We only have a shower, which is fine. But we had to buy a blow-up bath because that was the only place I felt comfortable. And I just sat in the bath every night. My poor boyfriend had to drag it out, fill it up, and, oh my God. And I just sat there, and it was like that was the only place where I didn't feel the pain, the tension. The baby was just loving it. And he's such a water baby now. It's unbelievable, actually.
And it makes total sense, right? He was calling you to that all along.
So, so there's... It's really interesting, and it really was an opportunity for me to start listening to the body. And I think I've been doing that ever since. And really, I think that we as women should recognize the miracles that we create. And I'm not just talking about physical babies. I mean, all of the creativity that we are the creators. That Shakti, that divine feminine energy, is so much more powerful than we give it credit for, because we've grown up in a patriarchal society. And why would feminine energy know anything?
Yes.
And actually,
I mean, I don't know. I haven't studied what you're talking about. And yet I have a sense of patriarchy for sure, being in America and also raised by Chinese immigrants, also patriarchal culture. But what I think of first is, like, we don't have models very easily accessible of a woman completely in their power. And I'm my Instagram feed is full of, I think that's a woman in her power. Like I'm just like watching people really just stand up and be their whole feminine, powerful selves.
And I think, it's been interesting because I did mention this to you before. For me, it wasn't safe to stand up. And then I watched the experience of my mum, and she, again, as an adult in the Troubles, in order to try and bring some money in, she went, and it was all sort of grassroots under the surface, but she went to people's houses, and it was called Party Plan, and it was sort of like Avon, but not. It was, she was selling makeup, she was selling clothes, but she was going to people's houses. They were having all women parties and then buying a lipstick and doing things like that. And but everything was, because it was under the surface, she was able to go to places that other people in Northern Ireland would not have felt comfortable to go to. It was unbelievable, the parts of Ireland that she travelled to on her own or with a female friend. They used to, sort of go together. And so I've had a good experience of what can be a woman in a man's world. Yeah. But, and in Northern Ireland at that time, it wasn't safe to stand up and declare yourself a leader. The politics in Northern Ireland have changed, and actually the main parties, political parties, are all fronted by women, which is great, because now we have female leaders, but they're all still arguing with each other and old hurts are still coming to the surface. I think it's going to take a while before things
Yes.
relax, which is why I live in Scotland and not and not in Northern Ireland.
Thank
It's yeah,
you. Thank you for bringing me just a tiny taste of what the history and the troubles were like. I have a lot to learn about what that brought. So it's a good reminder for me.
yeah. And it's
Um,
an interesting, it is, it's a very interesting place to grow up in because, again, there were so many numbing behaviours because we didn't know how to deal with trauma. Things were not spoken about.
right.
Men and women, but men especially, drank. It was a very heavy drinking culture. And it was because they didn't know how else to deal with their emotions.
Mm,
And, you know, it's always one of those things, if you ask someone of my age in their 40s, when they, you know, I was born in 1975, the trouble started in 1969. So I
mm,
was really in the middle of it. And there wasn't a single person that I knew that wasn't impacted in some way by, you know, whatever side of the divide they were on. There
right.
was someone that you knew had been killed or,
Uh,
you know, had been injured in some way in a bomb, in a shooting, you know, different things like that.
yeah.
So it's a very challenging place to grow up in some ways. But when you're young, you don't know any better. So
Right.
we
And
just kept going.
Kiki's reminding me that there's a movie called Belfast, right?
Yes, yes.
That
And yeah, I was going to say Kenneth Branagh, and yes, it's an excellent movie.
oh, good.
And yeah, I would highly recommend it. Actually, yes.
Okay. I'm glad to know there's a source, a Hollywood source that is credible. That's good. Good to know. I can just feel all of how the troubles made you who you are and made you this really quite young person who chose body and faith and self
Yep. Yep.
in spite of what you saw around you, what the messaging was in your culture, and you said, "No, I can see something bigger,"
Yeah.
and you had a family that allowed you to do that. I don't know if they could have been more supportive, but here you are.
I think yeah, I think I grew up in a family with strong female leadership,
Yes.
and even though like my father passed away very recently, and I was saying my mum was the heart of our family, but my dad was the backbone. And so he, you know, I do have to recognize that as well as the divine feminine, we have the divine masculine, and we have some strong male people. You know that saying, behind every strong man, there's a strong woman. It's actually, for me, it was the other way around.
Way.
My mum could not have been who she was, and my sister and I, could not have been who we were without my dad's strength behind us.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it was. It's a lovely way to honor him as well. Actually, is to recognize that. So yeah.
Um, maybe we can just we could talk and talk. If you could just
Mhm.
share what what is the joy in your business, your greatest joy in your business? It's sort of the why behind what you do. Do
It's
you
like
have
that
like
thing I said the
yeah,
very first time I was at the whiteboard and I turned around and people were actually watching and engrossed in it. That's my joy.
yeah,
And I'm getting to do it next weekend, or actually this weekend coming, because I'm doing my first in-person yoga teacher training in Northern Ireland, first one in 3 years.
yeah,
Because obviously, yeah, so I'm really excited about getting to be hands-on in the presence of other people again. And it just brings me joy to see them go, I get it.
right.
Just love that.
Well, I just
So
pictured the whiteboard feeling is so much more palpable in person, right? The Zoom
yeah,
whiteboard teaching or even whatever way you teach is totally different. Yes, thank you. Time for me to you both have a fantastic day. Great. Thank you for joining us, Johnston. Um, I love that you're going back into IRL in real life
yes, yes,
interacting. It's been very on my heart too. The name of my business is Real Life Oakland, and I've struggled with it doesn't necessarily make sense with I'm a business coach, but really
Yeah.
I'm saying the power of us as business leaders is we are humans in space, in time and
Yes.
space. And our sphere of influence is really the greatest wherever our body is. And
Agreed.
that room is going to be so different and powerful. The
Yeah,
gathering
I
of
am. I'm really looking forward to it. Having said that, I do love the online world. You know, my breathwork and meditation teacher training is going to be online. However, I just decided this week, or last week, that it's going to finish with an in-person like training weekend, because again, I think there's so much to be benefited
yeah.
by being in the same space as we breathe. You
Yes,
know, we
that's a
can
good
we can
way to
do this
say it.
online breathing,
The air
but
we breathe.
actually, yeah, yeah,
Yes,
the energy that we get when we're together as a group
yeah,
is, you know, exponentially bigger
yeah.
than just the online thing. So for me, it's really important to get that opportunity to come together at the end.
You're so
So yeah,
right. You're so right.
yeah,
I just thought of Kiki is a friend that's on the live today, and she and I are in a hiking group of other business women, other women entrepreneurs running our own businesses. And the breath in the forest, in the redwood forest around here, that's what our hikes look like nearby, is
oh,
so
lovely
important and beautiful. And we're all breathing the same air, but also in communion with nature, the
nature.
earth.
Yeah,
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 it's
so
really important.
important.
Yes. So then, my last usual question is, what's a business challenge that you are struggling with right now?
It probably is the return to in person. There's still a hesitancy with people. And I have to, dare I say it, people are a little bit flakier than they used to be. They could make
Yeah,
commitments and
yeah,
make sure they the time set aside. Now it's like, oh well, I'm not sure because I might need this time off, or so and so might get COVID, and and I've just found
right.
not more with my sort of 30 something students, because they've got young kids and they're just finding it more difficult to make the time. And I think they just love the convenience of online. So
Mm,
it is hard to get them to recommit to actually being in person. But
mm,
when we do it, everyone's like, oh, why didn't we do this sooner? Because
mm,
it's
mm. Yeah, that's
so,
what I have found.
yeah.
I'm really, you and I met in a training space, coaching space for building online business. Faith plus action. Yes, mine is on my journaling table because that's where I need to see that Susie's um, slogan. I'll guess we'll say, but yes, I think of it all the time. I'm new to building online because I've been so in person. I was a brick and mortar
Okay.
retailer and really about location, 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 and us
Yes.
being in community and neighbors and all of that piece. But but the online space also is so powerful for bringing more and more people.
Well, you and I would never have met if it wasn't for the online space.
Oh, no, it's
So,
so,
yeah.
so amazing. Yeah. Yeah. So I just think of now we have both, right? Isn't that interesting how pandemic showed us a new possibility? And
Yes.
I guess I just offer to you the right people, right? The people who are ready, who are craving community. Isn't that the people that you looked back on
Or
your
they're asking
whiteboard?
why we met. We met online.
Kiki, yes, I'm happy to tell you more. Susie Ashworth is our coach, mentor, and both of us invested to be up levels by being around this amazing human who helps us get our shit straight is sometimes
I
the
was
way
going to
I
say,
say
yeah.
it.
I really didn't want to swear, but I was going to say exactly the same thing.
Yes, yes. And for the purpose of delivering the business dreams that we have to offer the people around.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I was going to say the people that you turned around from the whiteboard and saw, those are the people who are like, yes to this, right? There are
Yes.
people ready for the community, in-person community that you're
Yeah.
offering. And the people who are not, they have their own path, right?
Exactly. And they'll find their way back if they need to. If we're meant to meet, we meet.
Yes.
And just it's having the faith part. I've always been very good with the action, but I need to have faith as well. So faith plus action equals miracles. I have faith that the right people will come, and then I get to give them what I have, and then we create miracles. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And not making a story about who does and doesn't come.
Exactly.
Right. That we're
Which is
supported. We have just enough. We'll always have enough, whoever says yes. And it's a challenge because dollars are real, capitalism is real, rent is real, mortgage payments, etc. Yet, bigger picture, bigger timelines, we have everything we need, just like what we said. Our bodies have everything. There's a knowing we have and an expertise. I mean, really, not to discount the brain that we've been given, right?
Yeah. And the 10,000 hour theory, you know, I'm a firm believer in that. But it's interesting because obviously I've got so many years experience of yoga and Pilates and also teaching them. But I still learn something new every day. And a lot of it has been responding to my body's wisdom and, you know, and just going, oh, okay, this is new. It's not actually new, but it's new to me. And taking it on board. And it's just exciting.
It is exciting. Isn't it amazing? I mean, I think this is what I was just reflecting in my journal this morning, getting ready to talk with you, that speaking of 10,000 hours, I mean, the decades, right? That like we got to start. And as far as yoga, you started so early, but you have been an expert on you all this time.
All my life,
all your life. Yes. And how much that gets to just grow exponentially. And what a beautiful teacher that makes you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, miracles of your life, more for me to learn about the troubles, a movie to watch. I'd love to know more, understand more. So I
think you can see the movie on Netflix. So, so you can, you can definitely, you can definitely live stream it. So that's good.
Okay.
And if you want to know more about if you want to know more about me, check out stretchbodymind.com.
Right.
And you can see my yoga teacher training, Pilates instructor training. I do a lot of stuff now. Again, is this because of the lockdown and, you know, all of the things. A lot of the stuff I'm doing online is one-to-one. So I, as well as having my in-person yoga, which is a group training, I do one-to-one. And it's a mixture of coaching and training. It's not just about getting the skills, it's about getting the confidence to be a leader, not just a teacher.
Yes.
To me, that's really important. So,
Yes, me too. the leadership is really so much of it. Thank you so much for being with us. Thanks everyone who joined in. Kiki, everyone.